It was freezing cold, somewhere around 2:20 in the morning, and I was driving my patrol car along the quiet county roads on my usual late-night shift. I was cruising near the edge of town when I heard a pack of dogs howling in the pitch dark. It wasn't a normal bark. It was a desperate, panicked sound that made the hair on my arms stand up. Then, as I passed a local sales barn, I noticed the livestock behaving strangely. A massive bull in a corral was acting completely terrified. He was kicking and slamming his body wildly against the heavy wooden gate, making a deafening racket in the quiet night. I stopped my cruiser, rolled the window down, and scanned the area with my spotlight to make sure the gate would hold and the animals weren't breaking out. Everything else looked still, so I shut the light off and drove on, but a heavy, uneasy weight settled in my chest. About 10 minutes later, I was driving down a long hill toward the intersection of two empty highways. Up ahead, near the junction, I spotted some flashing red lights near the road. From that distance, on a clear, moonless night, they looked like the warning hazards of a broken-down semi-truck. I figured a driver had pulled off or got stuck in the ditch, so I stepped on the gas to go help, turning my cruiser toward the lights and flicking my high beams onto full power. The moment the bright white beams hit the object, my breath caught in my throat. My hands locked onto the steering wheel. It was not a truck. It was a massive, football-shaped metallic craft, hovering about 6 to 8 feet directly above the asphalt. The skin of the thing looked like polished aluminum, gleaming brilliantly under my headlights. A narrow catwalk wrapped all the way around its middle, and a row of oval portholes were cut into its side, with intense, blinding red lights flashing rhythmically through them. Underneath the main body, 3 thick metal landing legs hung down, suspended in the air. I stopped the car, completely stunned, and rolled my driver's side window down to get a better look. The biting, freezing winter air rushed in, but I barely felt it because of the sound. It wasn't an engine noise. It was a high-pitched, screaming whine, like a siren but sharper, vibrating so intensely that I could feel it in my teeth and the bones of my face. Right underneath the belly of the craft, a flickering blue and orange flame-like light display was dancing and reflecting on the dark highway. As I stared, the craft began to rise slightly and drift slowly toward a nearby open field. I put the cruiser in gear and followed it down a narrow dirt road, keeping my headlights locked on the shiny metallic hull. I was going to call it in on the radio, but before I could grab the handset, my engine sputtered. The dashboard lights flickered, and then the engine died completely. My headlights went black, plunging the interior of the car into a deep, freezing darkness. I gripped the plastic handset of my police radio, desperately trying to get a signal, but there was nothing. The radio was totally dead. No static, no hum, just absolute silence. The cold of the winter night seemed to creep through the glass, wrapping around me. Through the windshield, I saw them. Several figures emerged from the shadow of the landed craft and started walking slowly toward my car. Fear surged through me. My hand instinctively reached down toward my hip, seeking the comfort of my service revolver. But before my fingers could even brush the leather holster, a crushing mental pressure slammed into my head. It felt like a heavy, invisible hand was pushing down on my brain. A blurred white shape seemed to rush right at my windshield. Suddenly, my arm froze. My whole body went completely rigid. I tried to scream, but my throat was tight and silent. I couldn't lift my hand. I couldn't turn my neck, and I couldn't even close my eyes. I was totally paralyzed in my seat, staring helplessly through the cold glass as the figures approached. One of the figures stepped up to the driver's side of the car. It was holding a small, silver device, and a thick, heavy green gas began to spray out, completely enveloping the cruiser. The gas had a sharp, metallic, suffocating chemical smell that leaked through the vents. Another figure stood near the front hood of the car. It pulled a silver rod-like tool from a holster on its hip and pointed it directly through the windshield at my face. A blinding flash of light exploded, It was like a giant camera bulb going off right in front of my eyes, but 10 times brighter and hotter. A searing, white-hot heat flared behind my eyes, and then my consciousness slipped away. Everything went pitch black. The next thing I knew, I was standing outside my patrol car, holding the heavy driver's door open. My mind was foggy. I had no memory of opening the door, releasing my seatbelt, or stepping out into the freezing mud. One of the figures was standing right in front of me, staring directly into my eyes. Before I could even process what was happening, its hand reached out. Its cold, solid fingers gripped the left side of my neck, pressing hard against the nerve cord right below my ear. A sharp, burning pain, like a hot needle plunging deep into my skin, shot down my spine and straight into my skull. I gasped, my vision blurring, and a sick, nauseous feeling hit my stomach. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't move. The leader stared at me. Its face was only inches from mine. Its head was long and thin, with grayish-white skin. Its forehead was covered in deep, intricate wrinkles. But what terrified me were its eyes. They were slanted and sunken, like a cat's, with pupils that widened and narrowed like a camera lens, adjusting to light. They didn't blink once. It had a flat nose and nothing but a thin, horizontal slit for a mouth, with no lips at all. Then, the leader began to speak. The sound was incredibly bizarre. It was a combination of a direct telepathic projection inside my head and a hollow, broken English voice that seemed to rumble from deep inside its chest, rather than its mouth. "Are you the watchman over this place?" he asked. My voice was trembling, but I managed to squeeze the words out of my tight throat. "No, I am a policeman." The leader turned his head slightly, pointing a thin, silver-gloved finger toward the faint lights of the town's power plant visible on the horizon. "Is this the only source of power you have?" he asked. I nodded slowly, still shivering from the cold and the shock. Then he asked about our water reservoir, wanting to know where we stored our water and how we got it. I looked at this being, my heart hammering against my ribs, and I desperately needed to know if my mind was playing tricks on me. I asked, "Are you real?" The leader reached out with his other hand and firmly squeezed my shoulder. The heavy, solid, physical weight of his grip pressed through my thick winter coat. "Oh Lord," I thought, "this isn't a dream. This is really happening. I am not crazy." Then the leader looked at me and asked, "Would you shoot at a spaceship?" "No, sir," I replied. He nodded slowly. "Come with me, watchman." It was an invitation, but there was a powerful, commanding force behind it. I knew I had to follow. We walked together through the wet, freezing grass toward the hovering metallic disc. As we got close, a circular hatch in the bottom of the craft slid open, and a metal ladder descended to the wet ground. The leader motioned for me to go first. I reached out and grabbed the metal rungs. They were freezing cold, so icy that the bitter chill bit right through my thick leather gloves. I climbed up the rungs, my boots slipping slightly on the cold metal. As I entered the belly of the ship, the hatch slid shut behind us with a heavy, airtight hiss. Inside, the air was incredibly cold and smelled clean, almost like the air right after a lightning storm, but completely sterile. The walls were made of a dull, smooth, grayish metal. We walked up a metal ramp into an upper deck. I looked around at the crew. There were 4 of them in total, all wearing tight silver-gray suits that looked like shiny diving gear, complete with boots and gloves. On the left side of their helmets, right near the ear, was a small, thin antenna. But what caught my eye was the emblem emblazoned on the left breast of their suits. It was a detailed symbol of a winged serpent, its wings spread wide. It felt ancient and completely out of place in this high-tech metallic environment. The room was filled with computer-like consoles, blinking lights, and spinning magnetic tapes. In the center of the wall, there was a large screen, like a television. To the left of the screen was a planetary map showing a bright sun and several planets, surrounded by a strange, sweeping script that I couldn't read. The leader walked over to a console and began punching buttons. Instantly, the tapes started spinning faster. A heavy, vibrating hum filled the room, and a strange, electrical tingle washed over my entire body. I felt the hair on my arms stand up. Suddenly, my head began to throb with a fierce, crushing ache. It felt like my skull was being squeezed in a vice as information was forced directly into my mind. The leader's voice echoed in my head, synchronized with the rumbly, deep voice in the room. "This is an observation craft with a crew of 4 men," he communicated. He pointed to the television screen in the center, which now showed a swirling star system. "This is where we are from, a galaxy next to yours." The headache intensified, a sharp pressure behind my eyes. "The craft is made of pure magnesium," the leader continued, "and it operates using reversible electromagnetism." More thoughts were forced into my brain, showing me maps and locations. "We have a base on the planet Venus," the leader told me, "and we have secret facilities here on your world. There is a large base beneath the ocean off the coast of Florida, another off the coast of Argentina, and one at your southern pole." The thoughts kept coming, thick and heavy. They told me they had a breeding analysis program and had been observing our civilization for a very long time. They said they wanted humans to slowly learn about their existence, but they needed to maintain a sense of mystery. "You should believe in us some, but not too much," the leader said. The leader stopped pressing the buttons on the console, and the heavy vibration and the sharp pressure in my head slowly began to fade, leaving only a dull, throbbing ache. "We will return to see you 2 more times," the leader said, "and one day you will see the universe." Then he stepped closer to me. His unblinking, cat-like eyes seemed to expand. "When you go back, you will forget what happened here," he commanded. "You will report seeing the ship land and then take off, and nothing more." I was escorted back to the circular hatch. The metal ladder slid down, and I climbed down into the freezing night air. The 2 crew members who had been standing guard outside climbed up behind me, and the hatch sealed shut. I walked back to my patrol car like a man in a trance and sat down behind the wheel. Suddenly, my awareness snapped back. The engine of my cruiser was running. The headlights were shining brightly on the road, and the static of the police radio was crackling in my ear. I looked up and saw the metallic disc rise straight up into the air, fluttering slightly from side to side. It emitted a final, high-pitched scream, and then instantly shot up into the dark sky, leaving a bright trail of orange fire underneath. I sat there shivering, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I put the car in gear and drove slowly back to the police station. When I walked through the door and looked at the wall clock, my jaw dropped. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had only been gone for what felt like 10 minutes, but 20 to 25 minutes of my life were completely missing. I sat at my desk, my hands still trembling. Then I opened the daily logbook. My head was splitting with a fierce, blinding headache, and a loud, metallic buzzing sound was ringing in my ears. I picked up my pen and wrote, "Saw a flying saucer at the junction of 2 country highways. Believe it or not." I went home after my shift ended, feeling deeply sick to my stomach. When I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, I saw it. On the left side of my neck, right where that being had grabbed me, was a swollen, burning red welt about 2 inches long. The buzzing in my head just kept ringing,